Hi, you guys. It's Yaz, and today I'm going to talk about why narcissistic abuse victims they neglect their self-care. They don't take care of themselves after being in a narcissistic abusive relationship or after having to deal with a narcissist. A lot of victims fall to pieces, and I'm going to tell you the realest reason why this is happening. Not only do they fall to pieces and they neglect their self-care, but they also neglect other responsibilities as well, such as keeping up with their house, keeping up with things with their children. They start to let things go, all right, because they don't have the motivation to do it anymore. And the reason that I'm doing this podcast is because I saw that somebody talked about this, and they said a large part about it is because of you're drained. You're drained after being in a narcissistic, abusive relationship. But I'm going to give you the root reason of why you start to neglect your self-care, why you don't care what you look like when you go out anymore, why you're not, you don't care about your hair, you're sitting home all the time, you have no zest for life. The narcissist has broke your spirit, okay? They broke your spirit. See, when you met the narcissist, your outlook was very different in the beginning of what life is to what your outlook is going to be after being in the relationship with a narcissist. In the beginning, you're optimistic, you have a dream, you have a goal. Your dream is usually to meet somebody, have a lasting relationship, maybe have a family, have children, and, grow together, be happy together, respect each other. That was your goal. And that was the fake dream that narcissist put in your head. Like they were going to be there for you. They were going to help you with things, help you with the kids, help you with hardships. So you had this dream already in your mind of what your life was going to be. And then you get entangled with a narcissist. And during the relationship with the narcissist, they break down your spirit, okay? They break down your energy. And yes, that person is right. They do drain you to the point where you don't want to take care of yourself anymore. But I'm going to give you the real root reason of what is going on, okay? So bear with me, all right? You got to stay till the end because I'm going to really explain it out why a lot of people neglect themselves, okay? They may not go to the gym. They may not, take care of anything. They just don't care. At the end of a relationship with a narcissist, it's kind of like you give up. You give up because you feel like you gave everything to this person. You gave everything to the relationship. They've beaten you down. They have browbeaten you down to a point now where you don't value yourself. You don't care about yourself. Your self-worth has been destroyed. This is what that narcissist did to you. And this was their goal, was to destroy your self-worth and make you feel like you're nothing. And the reason that they want to hurt people and do these things is because they're a hurt person and misery loves company. And by putting you down, lifts them up in their minds. It makes them feel like they're better, okay? Because again, remember who you're dealing with. You're dealing with an insecure person, very, very insecure, fragile person that just can't be themselves, all right? And they have a sick mindset. Really, when you think about it, they have a sick mindset because some of them are actually sadistic and get joy in putting you down and browbeating you, all right? So during the relationship with the narcissist, they were controlling everything. They may have controlled what you ate, controlled how you cooked, controlled how you took care of the kids. They were always, complaining about this. You should have done it this way. You shouldn't do it that way. Telling you what to do. They are like a drill sergeant. And that goes for whether they're overt, malignant, grandiose, or even the covert narcissist, because the way the covert narcissist does it is they do it in a quiet, subtle way, all right? So you'll be afraid to rustle their feathers because you'll be afraid they're going to run into a silent treatment on you. That's how the covert narcissist controls you. They don't have to yell and scream. They just give you a look or they just run stone cold silent on you, and that alone teaches you not to open up your mouth or do something a certain way, or they are going to ice you out, freeze you out. All right. So now you've been living with one of these demons, all right? Whether it was a covert narcissist, a malignant narcissist. If you lived with a malignant narcissist, you went through hell, okay? Because they were abusive. A lot of them are physically abusive. Malignant narcissists are extremely, extremely controlling, okay? To the point where they don't want you to talk to your family. They don't want you to talk to certain friends. They don't want you going anywhere. They'll be tracking your phones and everything like that. That's how extreme a malignant narcissist is. And of course, the covert malignant is, the subtle, dangerous one, all right, which could be the most dangerous. But I'm not going to get into the different specifics. I've done podcasts on that where I explain overt, covert, and malignant narcissists and the difference between them. Go look at my older podcasts because I go into that, right? But the thing is, you dealt with one of these demons. And what they did is, instead of making you happy, they made you unhappy, okay? Instead of appreciating anything you did, they never appreciated anything you did. Some of them actually put down the way you look. Some of them, criticized you, laughed at you, were sarcastic to you, and made you feel less than. If you were dealing with a covert narcissist, they dismissed you half the time. Like when you were talking, they'd make like they didn't listen to you, or they would be more enthralled in their phones or on the TV or talking or giving other people attention and completely icing you out and dismissing you. So what does all of this do, you guys? This all breaks down your self-esteem, okay? So you become a broken person when you come out of this relationship. And here you are now, you're out of the relationship, and what's the last thing you feel like doing? The last thing that you feel like doing is self-care, because you feel like you've done everything. You felt like you looked your best when you were with the narcissist, and that still wasn't good enough. So now you feel defeated. And a lot of people that leave relationships with narcissists, a lot of them don't trust. A lot of them don't want to go into another relationship. Because why is that? Because you feel like you gave everything and it still wasn't good enough. See, the problem is not so much that you gave everything. It's who you gave it to. You gave it to the wrong person who didn't appreciate you. Whereas if you were with somebody else, you would have got the love. You would have gotten somebody who validated you, somebody who builds you up, all right? Narcissists don't build you up. They tear you down. So the whole point in all of this, the real reason why now you're neglecting everything is because your self-worth has been destroyed, okay? Your self-confidence has been destroyed. And what does that do? What do you think that does? That puts you into a depression, okay? Now, let me explain something about this because I know all about this, all right? I deal with all these kind of mental health issues because, I have 2 kids on the autism spectrum. I've been to more doctors than than podcasts I put out, and I have over 6,000 podcasts out almost, all right? Or I have a large number of videos out, right? But let me tell you something about depression. Depression is no fucking joke, all right? Depression is no joke. And when you get yourself into a depression, you get to a point where you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to put makeup on. You don't care about, going to the gym. You feel defeated. You feel alone. You find no joy in anything, all right? When you get to that point where you're that low, you have got to go and seek therapy. You need help, and you can't do it alone. You've got to reach out, get out of your comfort zone and reach out to somebody and get a therapist and have somebody to talk to you, okay? Because that's depression is a very dangerous thing. That's why a lot of people, I've heard, can be suicidal. It could get to that point. And that, you guys, is depression. So the root of why narcissistic abuse victims don't feel a need to take care of themselves or to clean their house or to do anything is because of loneliness, or if it's not so much loneliness, it's depression. So let me explain, the dynamics of this. You dealt with a narcissist, and whether you realize it or not, This is a fact. Narcissists suffer from anxiety and depression themselves. Even though they put on a fantastic front to look like they're happy, look like they're living their best life, I will tell you that deep down, you're dealing with a depressed person. You're dealing with an anxious person. What's anxiety anyway? Anxiety is fears. And the fear that the narcissist has is being less than, okay? So this narcissist projected all of these, illnesses within themselves, because it is an illness. Anxiety and depression is an illness that if you're around somebody who's depressed or anxious or is filled with anxiety, guess what? They're going to make you anxious. How do I know? Because I've been around people like that, all right? I mean, not to make this similar, but like even my son who's filled with anxiety, my son who's nonverbal autistic, severe, you want to talk about anxiety? You haven't seen anxiety till you've seen the level of autism that my son is at, all right? So when you're around somebody, I'm just using this as an example. When you're around somebody who's very anxious and is filled with anxiety, okay? Filled with anxiety, almost to the point of panic attacks and everything, what do you think that's going to do to you? I'm going to tell you what that's going to do. That's going to make you anxious. That's going to make you nervous. Because when you're around depressed people, anxious people, people that are nervous, they're going to make you nervous, anxious, and depressed, okay? I've been through this. I could speak on this, and I'm explaining to you it's similar to when you deal with a narcissist, because this is what's going on. This is the real root of it, okay? Not just that you're drained from being with a narcissist, like somebody was speaking about, and they're right. You are drained from being with a narcissist, and you're totally drained from fighting with them and all of that and arguing, and your stress level goes up with your cortisol levels and all of that. Yes, that is true. But when you look deep down into the root of all of that, it's because the narcissist is anxious and depressed, and all of that is going to be projected onto you and leave you in a state of anxiety and depression. Not only that, when you come out of that relationship, you're going to be looking, a lot of people end up on antidepressant pills, or they end up talking to therapists because they think that they're the problem. Because in a sense, you have gone through trauma. You have gone through trauma because you dealt with somebody who played so many mind games on you that you don't even know what's right or wrong anymore, okay? And it takes time, it takes education to be able to come out of that foggy cloud, that cognitive dissonance, that confusion, that gaslighting that narcissist put in your head to confuse you. That's why I'm going to talk about it in the future, about how to train yourself to be focused, okay? Because you didn't understand at the time. That's why you've got to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself because you did the best with what you knew at the time. But now you have to sharpen your minds, okay? And I'm here to teach you how to do that. And the way you do that is through education, because knowledge is power. And when you recognize these mind games, these mind tricks, you will run circles around that narcissist. Trust me when I tell you, okay? I've dealt with the biggest snakes in the world in every single realm that I've been in, all right? I've had to deal with narcissistic lawyers. I've had to deal with narcissistic doctors. I have dealt with narcissistic family members, narcissistic ex-covert husband and their family, and ex-covert narcissistic mother-in-law. I could write a 10-volume book, okay, on all of this. And this is what I have to tell you. You're not able to come out of that depression until you educate yourself, give yourself time, maybe talk to a therapist. And this is why you don't have, it's depression, okay? It's as simple as that. It's as simple. You neglect your self-care because of depression. And see, a lot of people are depressed and they don't even realize that they're depressed. They don't even realize that they're depressed. See, depression as well is on a spectrum. You could be a little bit depressed, like you have a bad day, and then you could have severe depression where you're at the point where you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, okay? Where you really feel like life is not worth living. And I've had a few people that I've had to deal with, clients and everything, that were at a point where they were suicidal. They felt like life was not worth living and everything like that because of the severity of that depression. That's the reason why you neglect your self-care. That's the reason why your home is falling apart, why a lot of victims of narcissistic abuse become hoarders, all right? Because now you're so lonely, you're so depressed that you attached to physical objects, all right? When you see people or you see that show Hoarders, the first thing you have to say to yourself is they have a mental illness and it's depression. People love to sit there and make fun of them and say, oh, they're slobs. No, they have a mental illness, okay? It's a serious thing. Just like it's a mental illness to be an overeater and become seriously obese, okay? It's an illness, all right? And yet people make fun of that. And, I don't like when anybody makes fun of anybody that has an illness or disability or anything like that, because I will come at you with both barrels when you pick on the vulnerable. All right. That's just the way I am, because I'm a super empath and I don't tolerate that when somebody, makes fun of people that are weak, vulnerable, children or elderly. That doesn't fly with me. Okay. So what I'm getting off tangent here, you guys, because I'm getting passionate when I think about this. What I'm trying to tell you this, yes, you're tired, you're run down, you're drained, you're exhausted from the narcissist, but the biggest damage is the fact that narcissist broke your self-worth and made you depressed. That's what it is. So you have to come out of that depression. Once you come out of that depression, how do you do that? By having contact with other people, joining a support group, by getting out of the house, by forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do, okay, like take a walk around the block or get outside or take a drive in the car when you're depressed. You have to go outside your comfort level in order to adjust your mental state so that you come out of this depression, all right? And on top of all this, you have to educate yourself on narcissism so that you understand what you're going through. See, a lot of times people have anxiety because of confusion, all right? That's all fears. A lot of people fear things. But when you have clarity, that will lessen the confusion in your mind, okay? So that's what it is, you guys, all right? And the thing is, if you're that severe, then you definitely have to reach out and contact a therapist and get therapy and have somebody work with you to walk through that depression. Once you lessen that depression and you come out of that black hole that you're in after leaving that narcissist, you're going to see that things will fall into place and things will start to get better and you'll start to live again, okay? You'll start to live again. So educate yourself as much as possible on what you went through, the type of narcissist you were dealing with, why they did what they did, have a plan to get out, work on your physical health, work on, your financial situation, work on your, having human interactions with people. That's very important to be around other people, okay? Very, very important. We saw how damaging it was during the pandemic, how people suffered by not having that human connection. You have to have human connection. All of this will help you to get yourself together and to rebuild yourself so that you don't neglect your self-care. And you don't neglect your house, and you don't neglect things that you should be doing for your children. It will pull you back together, all right? So it's really the root of why you neglect your self-care is because of that depression that you have had inflicted on you. That's abuse that was inflicted on you by that narcissist who they themselves were depressed, whether you realize it or not. Because the proof of that is happy people don't have to put down other people. It's miserable people that have to put down other people. And it's because they're jealous and insecure. Okay? And I hope that this doesn't get copied like so many of my other stuff get copied. You guys, watch out for these fake, phony influencers. You know who I'm talking about, all right? Check it out and, listen to what I'm saying. It's because that narcissist put you in a depression and you got to get out of that depression. So I hope that helps you. If it does, hit the subscribe button, share the podcast. If you're looking for confidential one-on-one phone coaching, check out the link in the bio at askyaz.wixsite.com/thegameexposed. If you're confused, you don't know if you're dealing with a narcissist, check out the link in the bio. I'm, been pretty booked up. It's been a very, busy month for me because I have another project that I'm doing. So you have to make your appointments in advance, you guys. And check out my TikTok at The Game Exposed. YouTube is The Game Exposed Podcast. I have a new Facebook page, The Game EXP 777. And Instagram is The Game EXP 123. And have a great day.